everyone, it's msnobuntu. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to part 2 of narcissistic abuse, tyrannical narcissistic abuse. This part of this conversation that I'm just having with you that was triggered by watching ASCC Direct online, as well as an Oprah interview with a convicted murderer who had murdered, you know, her ex-husband and his new wife. I will link everything down below, and I will put that video up over here as well. This is part 2 now, and these are the I just wanted to share in this part the kind of tools that I learned in how to deal with a narcissist, with narcissistic abuse, with narcissistic tendencies. One of the major things that God taught me about how to respond or not respond to narcissists is that ignore them, and also that you do not let them know what your buttons are, because the moment a narcissist knows what your buttons are, then they press them. And let's say they already know what your buttons are and they're pressing your buttons. How do you then survive the abuse? How do you then survive the affront? One of the things that the Holy Spirit began to teach me was, take those moments when your buttons are being pressed by the narcissistic abuser. Take those moments to grow in strength. And when they are pressing, don't react. And they'll keep pressing, and everything in you, from your ego to your flesh to your spirit to your everything, every cell in you will want to react, and rightfully so. But do not react, because the moment you react, it's like pouring fuel to the fire. Then they know your buttons. They don't know how to manipulate you. Then they know how to abuse you, how to violate you, how to come after you. So first, ignore them, thoroughly ignore them in everything that they do, because narcissists are typically charismatic. They like to be popular, they like to be liked, they like to be seen as nice people, they like to be accepted, they like to be seen in a light that paints them as if they are a very nice and kind and outgoing charming person. But remember, charm is deceitful, and the narcissist has a very dark side behind all of that. That is called the tyrannical narcissist, and that person is dark, that person is abusive, that person is a murderer, that person of, you know, a murderer of character, a murderer of anything they can find. That person is diabolical. That person is really a horrible person at the core, and is a psychotic, and that person is rotten from the inside out. But they have found a way to mask themselves as if they're not rotten from the inside out. And one of the ways that I learned, you know, there's a lot of people who I come across who have narcissistic traits, characteristics, and one of the ways that I deal with it effectively is that you ignore narcissistic traits and tendencies, and that also you don't let them know what your buttons are. But when they do know your buttons, that you don't give them power by reacting. Don't react. As long as it goes on, take the opportunity to grow in capacity to be able to withstand the attack by not giving in to the attack. Really, how you deal with a narcissist is that you starve whatever feeds them. At some level, all narcissists are attention seekers, so starve them of attention. Don't give them any attention. Ignore them. Whatever they do, ignore them. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, just ignore them. Pretend that they're not there. Actually erase consciousness of them from your mind, because at the very core, they're attention seekers. They like to be at the center of attention. They are triangulators. They like everything to revolve around them, and in a very toxic manner. They're very toxic people. And so one of the major ways that you can you know, prevail in dealing with a narcissist is that you ignore them. The other way is that you always stand your ground, that you do not ever reduce to fearing them. We have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Never ever think that you are in danger of being beaten up by a narcissist. A narcissist can do a lot of things. They can make you lose your job, etc. They can do very horrible things. However, do not get to a position where you are afraid of them. Understand that essentially a narcissist is a representative of a diabolical force, and that a diabolical force essentially is a cowardly force. And so understand that when you are dealing with a narcissist, you are actually dealing with a coward at heart. Someone who doesn't want to beat you up so that it can be traced back to them. Someone who doesn't want to murder you so that it can be traced back to them. Somebody who doesn't want to violate you in a way that can be traced back to them is typically a coward. Even the person, even on the other side, the people who do abuse you in a way that can be traced back to them, they are cowards, but they are so cowardly to the point that they want nothing to lead to them, to lead back to them, as having abused you, as having manipulated you, as having seared your spirit and seared your psyche and traumatized you, and deeply so. They are so cowardly that they never want any kind of thing that will tarnish the kind of charismatic, good person character that they purport in public. They would never want anything to damage that image, that false image that they have of themselves. They truly are people who have a false sense of grandeur. They think that they're bigger than they are, and so and they think that they're nicer than they actually are. They're not nice people at all. They are very unkind, diabolical, abusive people, dark people, rotten from the inside out people, and they're in denial about just how rotten they are and how far gone they are. So one of the ways that you deal with them then is that you threaten them with telling, or that when they do something to you in private, you tell. You always tell what they do, and you don't hide their secrets for them, and you don't overlook and whatever they do. That everything that they do, you always tell. You always tell, and you always out them, and you always put them on blast. When you do this to a narcissist and you put a narcissist on blast, you can get some relief. That's one of the ways that you will begin to get some relief, because they don't like that good guy or good woman image being tarnished. And the moment that you put them on blast as being fake, as being a chameleon, as being two-faced, and as being rotten, they don't like that. So they will typically stop what they're doing the moment you put them on blast. Now they'll pout, they'll sulk, they won't like you, they'll hate you, but they will get their hands off you the moment that they learn that you are not afraid of them. When they learn that you are not afraid to go toe to toe with them in terms of putting them on blast and eloquently explaining in public what they do, that this person makes themselves look like this to you guys in public, but behind closed doors this is actually how they are, and this is the kind of thing that they do, and the kind of things that they say, and the kind of things that they manipulate. They don't like that. When you put them on blast, they don't like that. And so 3 things: ignore them, don't let them know at your buttons, and go toe to toe. Do not hide their secrets. Put them on blast. You are not in danger of being beaten up by a narcissist. A narcissistic abuser is a coward at heart. And that is it. Thank you for tuning in to this 2-part series. If you have just stumbled on the second part, go back to part 1 and see if it's going to be helpful. If you've seen part 1, thank you again for watching, coming back and watching part 2. And if you like the content of this video as well as the content of this channel, please make sure to subscribe down below and also hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button, that is the notifications bell, so that you are notified every time that I do upload here on the channel. Thank you so much for coming by. I will see you next time. Stay blessed and be blessed.